We've got Rajat Mahajan, partner and automotive sector leader from Deloitte India, joining in on the show right now. Rajat, hi, great to have you today on ET. Now, I want to first talk about, the compensation cess and dealer liquidity. With the withdrawal of the compensation cess as of last year in September, which is now effectively blocked input tax credit for many dealers, given the current GST framework, Rajat, which does not permit refunds on this accumulated credit, tell me what specific bridge financing or policy relief could the government introduce to prevent these inventory carrying costs from crippling dealer working capital?
Thank you for having me. I think it's a compensation cess is one of the problems, but there are a lot of other problems within the industry right now that the sector is looking for support. Okay, one area is to provide a relief in terms of credits of any nature that can be provided to the dealers in the short term, and the other areas are, as I had mentioned, there are several other inputs that can be provided to the sector. So just as an example, right? So one of the things that we've been talking about is on areas with respect to inverted duty structure, which is also impacting the manufacturers, as an example. So both on the dealers and manufacturer side, there needs to be some more additional support that can be provided by the government in the budget.
Yeah, but if I can specifically ask you with regard to compensation cess, do you believe that the government is likely to fix this? I'm sure that as part of conversations with North Block, this would have been put up. How large of a problem is it? Quantify it for us, and whether there is a likelihood of this getting fixed in the budget?
So honestly speaking, I think there are many other problems that the government is dealing with right now. We do not foresee this to be one of the top priorities for the government to fix at this point in time. Because the strategic levers, if you look at the budget right now, the focus will be on how can we make India a more export-oriented economy? How can we bring more innovation and R&D into India and from India? And the tactical levers with respect to relief against tariffs or any other potential impact that can happen. So this might be there we hope that it gets resolved, but it may not be in the top tier reforms that we may expect this time around.
Ground. How painful is this? Talk to us about, it may not feature among the top 5 tasks for the government to take up, but then on ground, how are dealers adapting to this new normal, if I can call it that, and how large is the pain point for this? Because my understanding is that there's a large pool of cess which is just lying, which means that working capital has been blocked.
Yes, so see, at the end of the day, this problem is not something that we've not seen in the past. As an example, with the inverted duty structure of 5%, which impacts the OEMs, it's a similar situation like over here. So the reduction, the dealers will have an impact on the, you can say, input tax credit over a period of time, but it's not a small amount. If you look at it broadly, nearly 30% of the total cost of the dealers is actually interest costs, right? Now, this interest cost, can have all kind of billing that you say nearly 30%. If I look at it, 28%, reducing it to 18%, that's, a significant 10 percentage point reduction, which is nothing less than around 30% or so. So 30% can be an impact on this 30% cost structure of the dealer. So, if we have to quantify it, it can have a substantial impact of 9% on the total cost of the dealers. And at the same time, if you look at it, most of the dealers in India are around 1.5% to 2% or 3% at best in terms of PBT. So, if we do our maths, right, a 9%, you can say impact of the cost, which is nearly 10 to 12% of the total revenue. So it will impact nearly 0.9% of the top line, which could be nearly 30 to 40% of the profit of the dealer. So it is substantial, it is material, but it's just been a few months. Let's see what the government says out here.
Right. You know, the other thing I also wanted to discuss, Rajat, was about the inverted duty structure for EVs, which you did touch upon. But while the 5% GST on EVs is a strong demand driver, manufacturers continue to face an inverted duty structure with key inputs taxed at still 18%. Since ITC refunds are currently restricted on cap goods, how critical is a simplified refund procedure or further rationalization of component duties to ensuring the long-term financial health of EV startups in specific?
See, uh, OEMs which have a very high percentage of EVs are impacted, obviously are more impacted as compared to other OEMs. Now, in the inverted duty structure, on one hand, we have, the 5% GST on the EVs. And the input that we are taking is basically on the three components, which is raw materials, second is capital goods, and third is, all the indirect spends or indirect purchases that we do. Now, at this point in time, it is only linked to the, raw material, which is the direct impact. Maybe the government can think of, let's say, how can we provide refunds